National football team coach Michael Weiß has been cited for his work with the Philippine Azkals by the German Football Ambassador 2013, elevating him in an elite group of high-profile German coaches from all over the world.
It is about fine-tuning, it is about
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, a very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue a theme of interviews. And we have the former head coach of Mongolia national team, Mr. Michael Weiß, with us today. So he has not only managed the Mongolian national team, he has also managed the Philippines national team. And he has also managed in Rwanda, China, Japan, to name a few. And so what do we do next? So I don't want to waste much of your time. So I would like to get straight into the interview, and I would like to first thank Michael Weiß for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing during this pandemic period?
Yeah, hello, super. I mean, we talked the other days several times. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm very honored to be part of this exclusive circle of people you're interviewing, and I saw several of your interviews, and I was pleased, so it was easy for me to accept the invitation. Right now, I'm in Japan with my family. I live here since 6 years in Fukuoka in the south. It's a beautiful city surrounded by mountains and even more a beautiful ocean. I spend time with my family, which I didn't have in the last 10-15 years almost. So I get to know my family much better, which is actually ironic in a way, but I'm happy about it. And I take this time also to reload my batteries.
So definitely it has been a break, a very unfortunate break for everyone, and definitely it has recharged many of them's batteries. So we'll move on to your career, and could you tell us something about yourself, like how you started, where did you start, and how was it?
Yeah, well, going back to my youth, already in a very young age, I'm now 55, unfortunately, but I started football with 8 years, so that's 47 years in football. And I went to play then in the age of 15, 16 for the Kaiserslautern, FC Kaiserslautern youth team, which is a very strong team in my area. I come from this area. It's a very traditional club, several times champion of the Bundesliga, and unfortunately now not in such a good state, but maybe we talk about that later. After finishing high school, I went to become a sports science student in the University of Mainz. Studied several years until I obtained my Master of Science of Sports. At the same time, I played soccer in the third league, which is almost, you can call it professional league now. In Germany, it's a professional league. And it was a tough program all these years, because in the morning I had studies in sports, I had athletics and swimming and volleyball, basketball, all these games, football included, as my master's theme. And then at the age of 32, I started with my first professional stint in Japan.
So definitely one thing that for me stands out is you have done, you are a sports science student, you have completed, and of course it's heavily implemented in Europe and maybe in America, where you have the infrastructure. How is sports science in Asia? Like you have managed in a lot of places in Asia. Do they actually implement sports science in football right now?
Big time. Even let me go back 10-15 years when we were coaching in Kyoto Sanga. It was at the beginning of the new century in 2000, 2001. I cannot say we were giving too much attention about sports science. We were just relying on our experience, and we were doing sometimes some physical tests, but at the beginning of the season, maybe in the half season, but that was it. But now with the GPS and with all catapult and all these things, for my personal opinion, the focus is a little bit too much on it. The focus is a little bit too much on these physical attention, which is of course important, and for highest level, it is very important, because when you have many games, for example, now in the Bundesliga or in the Premier League, every third day you have a game. If you make a hard training in between the games, it's impossible. You will have 100% many injuries. So this is why they need to direct the training very, very carefully. This is, I understand, but on the level in Asia, for example, in Mongolia or in Philippines, I think it's a little bit exaggerated sometimes, because what you're going to do in a national team, you have 3 days, 4 days training. So you don't, anyway, most of the players will be tired from their games in the clubs. Mostly you do tactical training. So there is definitely a change in the attention or in the focus of the sports science, which I think is good, but it's only one part of the game.
So of course, I'll just have a follow-through question to that. And like you have, like you said, Japan is, of course, in terms of infrastructure, it is one of the best in, like it can rival many countries all across the world. But like somewhere like Mongolia or Philippines or even Rwanda, where you were there, did you have the infrastructure, like to implement whatever you knew about sports science, something like maybe about GPS? Was it available?
No, because you have to see the time frame. We are talking of Rwanda. I was in Rwanda 4 years, from 2007, starting from 2007 until 2011. And to give you a small example, when I came there, they had a national stadium, Amahoro Stadium in Kigali, in the capital, a nice grass pitch. Difficult to maintain. They didn't know how to use the grass properly, how to treat it properly. Sometimes they put too much pesticides on it, and the grass was diminished, it was gone. And the other time they put too much water and you had too many water holes. There was a lack of knowledge in every part of the game. And then obviously the infrastructure was not there. There were no specialists. And I'm talking of 13 years ago. I'm talking of no artificial pitches. When I was there in 2007, there was no artificial pitch. In 2008, I remember like yesterday, I saw next to the federation, they built the first artificial pitch. So now listen, Rwanda, East Africa, from 2007 until now, I think at the least they have 15 to 20 artificial pitches in a span of 10, 15 years. Now I must say, Rwanda is now really like a model country in Africa. It's like a shooting star, I can say. I was there in the beginning to see this development, but still with the nature, with not so many cars, and people not so much focused on making business. It was more rural, it was more countryside-like. Now it's a totally different thing. They call it the Singapore of Africa. So the facilities and the training conditions were poor, I must say. But this is why they brought me there in that time, and I think we did a good job. I think we can discuss that a little bit later more.
Definitely. So I'll get back right in the beginning. You did your sports science, and did you always have an idea that you will get into management? Honestly,
when I started the science studies and when I played still football, we were like kids, even I was 23, 24 years old. At that time, it was a young age. Nowadays, coaches like in Germany, Nagelsmann or others, they start coaching in the Bundesliga even with 28, 29, 30 years old. I could never imagine. I mean, probably, for example, Jürgen Klopp, the manager of Liverpool, everybody knows him. We made the pro license together in Cologne in 2004 for a short period. And he would also never have imagined to coach in a young age. I mean, he was an exception at that time. He was more like a player coach, 31 or 32 years he started, but that was really, really very rare, very exceptional at that time. So most of the managers, they thought, okay, I need a little bit distance from playing and I need to play as long as I can. So if they started early in the higher leagues, it was maybe around 38, 40 years, but now it's different. Many things have changed a lot. So for myself, I did not think too deeply about managing, but of course, studying sports science, becoming a sports teacher on a high level, and making my badges for the football licenses, starting with the B license in 1995, and then in 1999 the A, and then in 2004 the pro license. So every step by step, I took it one step at a time. I didn't rush. And then, of course, I found this opportunity to go to Japan. And I thought at that time in 1996, 1997, that was a good starting point. So I took that opportunity and then I grew into coaching. I started with goalkeeper and physical coaching, and more I pick up also the studies for the field players. I studied a lot from people. I worked with very good people, with very experienced people, and I could learn a lot. So I grew more and more in the position where I thought, okay, I want to do this myself. And then it happened, you know, I was assistant coach in China with Mr. Krautsoon until 2005-06, and then I started.
So definitely, like you touched upon a topic that is your time in Japan. So I wanted to touch on that topic during your phase when you were in Japan. You started your coaching career in Japan with a high school team or a college team, as many of them may say, and then you went on to nourish top players in the J League. Could you tell us something more about how your time was in Japan, back then?
Wow, that is a very interesting topic. I remember how I found, maybe I want to start how I found the opportunity. I was sitting in the living room with my mother at that time, and we have a sports magazine in Germany. It's called Kicker Sports Magazine. It's like everybody will read it. Everybody who knows football at that time was reading Kicker Sports Magazine. So all the news about first league, second league, third league, fourth league even. They made reports about coaches, about players, about clubs. So it was like I needed to buy it every Monday and Thursday. So I study, and then there was a small ad, very small, almost you couldn't see it. Sports exchange advisor. We are looking for sports exchange advisors. Goalkeeper physical coaching for a prefecture in the south of Japan. I thought, wow, this is really it. Like in Germany, passt wie die Faust aufs Auge, It fit totally to what I had done, So I applied, and they took me immediately. Even though I had some reservations, at that time, to go to Japan or to go to Russia, China, these were countries it was like something, how can I say, not scary, but it was like not like today, because today you go in the internet, if you go to Fukuoka, you watch 10 videos. When you come to Fukuoka, already you know Fukuoka. But at the time I came there was nothing like that. There was hardly internet. There was the start of the internet. Email we started at that time, I remember, and it was a little bit adventurous, I would say. Okay, I go there in April 1997, April, May, something like this. And wow, it was a culture shock. It was an absolute culture shock, starting from the food, eating raw fish, starting from the drinking parties, where you drink until you die, and starting to sit on the floor, no communication, no Japanese at all. It was tough, I must say. Of course, you become homesick. Even I was already 32 at that time. But then I grew into the job. Of course, daily work. I had to move a lot. I was tired at the evening, and my worker colleagues, they took me out. They showed me in the area. It was a countryside area, so it was looking back, of course, a fantastic time in your life. At the time when you go through these things, you think sometimes, I'm homesick. I miss my girlfriend. I miss my family. This and my friends, but imagine for a boy like where I came from to go in a big, comparatively big job like this in Japan. Now looking back, it was a perfect start for me to go into a career. And the person I was working with there was a very famous high school coach, but he was famous because he was a strict, authoritarian person and very, very tough with the kids, sometimes even beat them, when they didn't do what he said. Very strict, every day 4 or 5 hours training and no mercy. But he produced a lot of players, lots of J-League players. And I was his right hand, I was helping him, I was supporting him, I was training. Every morning at 6 o'clock, I went to the dormitory and wake up the players. 6 o'clock, bim, bim, bim. All the players come out of the bed like this, very tired, go into their shoes, walk 2 minutes, go to the dormitory, go to the gym, and we make 1 hour technical training, passing. So they had a lot of repetitions and they had a lot of intensive training, were top fit. So it was really like, you could say pro. It was actually, the Kunimi High School was 3 times champion all over Japan. So many young boys in the age of 10, 11, 12, even they went to the junior high school there. They had also a junior high school. I worked only for the high school. The junior high school from 12 to 15, and from 15 to 18 is a high school. And we had, for example, Yoshito Okubo. I don't know if you heard this name. Yoshito Okubo is the #1 striker in Japan ever. The one who scored the most goals in the J-League. He's born in 82, now 37, 38 years old, almost finished football. And I was helping and supporting at that time to have him grow up. Amongst others, there's so many who went to the J-League from my period. I was there for 2 years. And it was also good in terms of getting connections with the people in the J-League. And we went to many games. We went to Oita, we went to Hiroshima, Fukuoka, all these cities in the south, even Tokyo, Osaka. So I've seen a lot in Japan. And it was, I must say, looking back, dream time, I can say. I mean, Japan is an amazing country. I'm gifted and I'm very happy to be able to live here. Other people go here for a trip. I live here, I have all the chances to explore. Now that I have a little bit more time, I really see how beautiful and strong Japan is. So, of course, the biggest gift I got from this time, I met my wife at the end of my stay in April 1999. Yeah, and we've been together since then, 21 years old. And that was the biggest gift.
So, from the high school, then you went to a full professional team in Kyoto. How was the transition for you?
Well, that was a funny story because as I told you already before, in Kunimi, it was time to make good connections and it was time to meet many people. And I remember I was talking to one guy in the school, a coach, and he said, you know what, there in Yokohama Flügels, there is a German coach. Yokohama is in Tokyo, in Kanagawa-ken, and I said, a German coach? Who is that? Yes, his name is Gerd Engels. I said, I don't know Gerd Engels. Can you give me the number? It was in 1998. And then he gave me the number. I called Gerd, and Gerd was at that time head coach of Yokohama Flügels, which was a very popular team. And hey, super, you are here in Japan and blah, blah, blah. And, very cool guy, very nice guy, and very experienced, already 4 or 5 years in Japan. He said, when can you come and when can we meet? And then I had a tournament in 1998 in Iwate-ken, which is north of Tokyo. And at the time, he had some off-season. He said, come to Yokohama and ask your high school teacher and the people there to give you permission. We meet in Yokohama and then we go together to Iwate. And that's what we did. So it was like there was chemistry there. We clicked, you know. And it was actually cute. We went to sing karaoke, we made some parties, and we had a super time. And he was also there drinking with me, with the high school teachers, I remember vividly. And we become like friends, yeah. So I went back to Germany in 1999. In August, September, I made my A license in Leipzig, which was a powerhouse in football education at that time, which was also a super experience, I must say. And then in 2000, we still had contact. I was in contact with Gerd. I was in America in 2000 for 3-4 months to have soccer camps and, you know, to have more education myself, and experience was also very interesting. And end of the year, 2000, we met in Germany, and he didn't know what he would do. So he got the job as a head coach in Kyoto, and it was like an overnight. He said, Mike, I was in Japan to visit my wife. Mike, you must come to Kyoto. You meet the manager, and you tell him this and this and this and this, and this is your job. And Kunimi, because the high school, everybody knew. So I went to Kyoto myself with a suit, necktie. I looked very smart. I talked with the manager, and he made an offer, and I thought, is this true? So it was an offer financially. It was amazing at that time. I thought, I'm gonna faint, you know. It was really fantastic. So I said, okay, I will take the offer. I want to work for your club, and I want to work with Gerd and with the coaching staff. I think we can do a very good job. So then Gerd came in January, February. We planned everything, and then from there we started the big project, Kyoto Sangha.
So, talking about the league you were involved in, how professional or what was the quality of the league that time when you were there?
It was like coming back to Japan again. You know, Japan is very professional in the way that you get everything what you want. For example, training materials at that time. We for example, for the physical training, we used an apparatus. It's called in Germany Schlitten, slide. You know, you take heavy weights on your back and you put it around your waist, and then you have speed training with additional weight. It was like, I wouldn't say revolutionary at the beginning of 2000, but it was very new. And we invited a physical coach from Germany who brought us through the first period. So Gerd was kind of a really innovative type and a very creative coach with another assistant from Germany also. So we got everything what we want, and we made a very good training plan and program for the players. And the rest is history, I can say. We become champions in the second league in 2001. And then in 2002, we were here for the World Cup, for the period of the World Cup, Korea, Japan, which of course itself was a fantastic experience. And we were, at that time in 2002, the best team ever, coming from the promotion of the second league in the J1. Yeah, we become 5th place. And I must say the level was really getting very good, even though it was only 10 years professional Japan, but it got better and better and better. Coming many foreign coaches from Brazil, from Yugoslavia, from Germany was popular at that time. And all the foreigners brought the knowledge of football in details. And the Japanese at that time, I mean, still until today, very disciplined people. If you say something, there is no questioning or something. They follow what you say. Yeah, and at that time, particularly the people, they saw the success that Gerd and his staff, myself included, brought. So it was like bringing our philosophy, which was actually bound for success. It was clear. And I took a lot from these things at that time, still into the periods going to Rwanda, Philippines, and Mongolia. You know, I worked in these three places for a long, long time, because football is a trendy thing. People follow trends, young coaches, they follow Guardiola, they follow Klopp, but football is the same. And you have to find your own philosophy. You have to find your own way managing things. You have to find your own way creating your own exercises, not looking from the book. You know, you have to create a relationship with the players. You have to create a feeling, a conscience of professionalism, not smoking, not drinking, sleeping enough, taking care of your body, having additional training. And all these things, we were like a trendsetter at that time. You know, it was like, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but for sure in Kyoto, it was the best period Kyoto ever had. So the level, of course, 15 years ago and until now, the level is different. There is, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of focus on the physical training, much more tactical studies, and through the internet and through the sharing of the knowledge, people copy a lot without going through the experience themselves, you know. But you cannot copy something, copy paste. It doesn't work. You have to live day by day. You have to know when to apply this training, how to treat this player, and this only comes with experience. So coming back to your question, the Kyoto time and the level in the J League at that time already was good, but we were like, the J League started in 1993. It was quite young. We were in a period where Japanese were going to the full professionalism, meaning they learned a lot from the foreigners. They themselves, the Japanese, were very eager to go to Germany, to go to France, to go to Holland, Netherlands, to study. And I think you could see that already in the World Cup in 2010, 14 and 18. You could see the development of Japan, and many players were taking the opportunity to go overseas, which was the most important thing, because the level in Japan only was not enough in order to make the national team strong. This came when Nakata and Shunsuke Nakamura and later on Keisuke Honda, Okubo, Daisuke Matsui, the ones I remember, and now we have all 11 starters. I played against Japan last October with Mongolia in a World Cup qualifier match. Every starting member played overseas, and all of them starting members. So this is the development of Japan. I must say, I respect that a lot.